1,000 acres gone. This fire still at zero containment. As we mentioned, the Woolsey fire is still growing at a very slow pace. Again, the good news, the winds are starting to die down. That was the biggest factor in how quickly they spread yesterday. Acceptable.
That's right. And of course, in Pepperdine, there is major concern for some parents with kids who attend the university. Many students are staying on campus despite evacuation orders.
Concerns of that nature from folks here. Here's a couple that we read. One saying, "My daughter is telling me they are being held in the cafeteria, not allowed to leave while the fire approaches and the rest of Malibu is evacuating." And then another one saying, "As I understand it, there was a mandatory evacuation of Malibu. Why would they not be moving these students, having hundreds of children die in a fire because they had a faulty plan and restricted the..." There was a lot of flames. They were small flames, but they were approaching the area where the students were evacuated or put into a shelter in place, probably about 100 yards away or so. Now, the Pepperdine University, the officials here did not want to let us into the evacuation area. They did not want to talk to us about what was going on, which sort of just added to the confusion of exactly what was happening up here. But we are being assured now that the students were allowed to leave if they wanted to, and that they have had this plan to shelter in place for a very long time. And I want to come out live now. I have a former student, someone who was staying with her mother-in-law up there last night. So you did shelter in place with all the students up here. Yes. Fallon Opsahl Barton. You graduated, I guess, last year?
Yes, in April.
So how was it up there last night?
It was predominantly very, very calm. Students, of course, did have some anxieties. I mean, it's really scary, especially at around 10:30 when the fire did crest over the hill. It's scary to see your community threatened by a fire like that. But in all of the past fires that have happened on the Pepperdine campus, from what I understand from people who have been here for many of the past fires, that happens pretty much every year, or every time this has happened, that the fire does crest. It comes right up to the condos. It even will come in these areas, but the fire department knows what they're doing, and they know when fires are an actual threat to structures and when they're not. And so they knew that these fires weren't an actual threat to any of our structures.
And where exactly did you stay?
So I was in the caf for the night, the cafeteria. Yes.
And what was it like in there? What was the atmosphere?
Predominantly, again, very calm. Students were, there was some worry, and it's crazy seeing that. But for most of the day, especially as we were just watching the smoke and there were no flames yet, students were calm. They were playing games. We sang in the caf, "Don't Stop Believin'" and a few other songs, and the attitude was one of a lot of positivity. After the tragedy our community experienced on Wednesday night, we lost one of our students in the shooting. She was one of those murdered at Borderline. I think there was a sense of community that drove everyone together. It also heightened some people's sense of anxiety and panic, I believe. I think that's where some senses were coming from, of like they were hearing the administration say, we really highly encourage you to stay. This is the safest place on campus. And I think a lot of people were feeling like that means we can't leave. And at times the roads were closed, and at times it was actually true that you couldn't leave, but not because of Pepperdine policy, but because there's nowhere to go. You either drive into a fire or you drive onto a closed street where they'll turn you around. So.
And of course, and as you brought up, it may be the safest place for some students who aren't familiar with the area, who maybe don't have a place to go, or some don't have a vehicle.
I mean, for the most part, it's the safest place in the area, period.
Man,
You're not allowed to touch me.
okay, sir, we could do this two ways. We could either leave campus. We have sheriff's department on campus. They could take you off campus.
Okay.
Control 1, you get up. You got California plate 209.